Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. This is the Fantasy Baseball Podcast. It's me, Joe Pisapia, and today we got a 12-team head-to-head mock with three of my favorite people, Joe Orrico, Scott Bogman, and the Welsh. Not some other Welsh, the Welsh. And we are, of course, going to be doing that mock draft on Draft Wizard. The ultimate cheat code for your leagues is Draft Wizard, and if you're not using it, well, I feel bad for you, because if you want to embarrass your friends and belittle all of your family members by dominating them in fantasy baseball, there's only one way to do it. It's using Draft Wizard. Download it today. Go to fantasypros.com/MLB Draft Wizard. That's the place to go, because you are going to be able to run your draft simulations, use the incredible features like the cheat sheets, like the pick predictor. They're all up there for you to use. And today we're going to use all of them as we try to make our picks. We'll see who wins the draft. And of course, today, just to run through the positions for you, it's a 12-team, 5x5, your standard roto categories. We're going to do it theoretically as head-to-head, too. So maybe some of those like single category guys are going to be a little inflated in value. We'll see how it all shakes out, but we're going to do the full infield, 4 outfielders, 2 utils. Then we're going to also have a middle infield spot and a corner infield spot. 9 pitchers. I just left it open to 9 pitchers so everyone can choose their own adventure here, because I am all about liberty. That's what I'm about. All right. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it and begin the draft. I'm going to be drafting from the 4 spot because I like that area there. It's perfect. Boggs, you're going to be drafting from 2 just because you didn't want to be the jerk who just took Ohtani. I respect that about you. Welsh, you are drafting a little bit further down today. You are at 111, and Joe Orrico in between us at 108. So without further ado, let's get to the draft here. Shohei Ohtani on the board here with a few seconds left. And Scott Bogman at 2. What are you looking to do at that spot here?
Yeah, it's Bobby Witt. I have gone a little bit back and forth because Aaron Judge just dominates 3 categories unbelievably. Really 4. But the stolen base is just too much for Bobby Witt, so it's got to be Bobby at number 2.
Okay, all right. Bobby Witt off the board at 102. Aaron Judge goes right after him. That's next to me here. Now, Juan Soto, of course, if it's an OBP league, I might pivot that way. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a guy that doesn't get enough respect. I love Ellie De La Cruz. Super exciting. Lots of stolen bases. But you know what else steals a lot of bags? Jose Ramirez. And he plays third base, too. Give me Jose Ramirez at 4. I'm happy with that. After that pick goes off the board, 105 goes to Juan Soto. Then Tariq Skubal at 106. Look at that. Team going early for the pitching. Team 7, named after George Costanza's son, is up next here. Team 7 go ahead and selects Mookie Betts. Joe Orrico, you're on the clock at 108. What'd you do?
I did something I don't usually do because it doesn't usually fall that far, but I took Ellie De La Cruz. I'm a little bit concerned about like top 5, top 4 valuation on him because the batting average isn't quite what the rest of the field gives you in that range, but I'm probably still getting like a 260 batting average with like 60 steals here. And to get him at the 8th pick, that feels like a nice drop for Ellie. So I'll take that.
I think it's an incredible drop, Box. Don't you think? Like, that's a great value here, especially in this system, the head-to-head.
I mean, he usually goes where you pick at 4, Joe. So
I was debating him.
Was pretty surprising.
There you have it. So after Ellie De La Cruz goes to Joe Orrico, Team 9 up next, Kyle Tucker, Gunnar Henderson at 110, Welsh selects Fernando Tatis at 111. Then Francisco Lindor goes at the turn with Julio Rodriguez. And then Welsh comes back around with Corbin Carroll. Tatis and Corbin Carroll. Let's talk about it, Welsh. How do you feel?
What do we got to talk about? Lock it up. We're done. We're done. Fernando
over.
Tatis fallen to me. By the way, all the projection systems are out. You can see ATC, the Bat X. Bat X very, very favorable to Fernando Tatis Jr. this year. You're closing in on a 30-30 guy, especially when healthy and out there. And then I get to go and pair him with Corbin Carroll, all the stolen bases, a bounce back on average. We're going to have 20-plus homers, tons of runs. I got 2 really good categorical players that aren't like the biggest on batting average, something I'm going to pay attention to later, but I've got all the stolen bases in the world. I've got great homers, run, RBI. That's like that prototypical start we talked about it on the wheel. If you can start like Julio and Corbin Carroll, I freaking love it, especially in a head-to-head for both of these guys.
Okay, continuing on after that incredible start there for Welsh, Ronald Acuna Jr., who might miss, it looks like, the opening of the season. It seems like maybe the entire month of April. We'll see as we get more reports. Spring trading starting any minute now. Yordan Alvarez goes next at 204. Then Joe Orrico, you took your boy Vlad Guerrero Jr. Look at you, you homer. Honestly, though, that's a pretty good value here. So you're just kind of soaking it all in at the 108 spot here.
Yeah, I think the pairing makes a lot of sense too, because like I said, the batting average is a bit of a concern with Ellie, who had the highest batting or highest expected batting average in baseball last year. Was Vladdy. He hit 323 or 322 or something. So even if I don't get that, even if he's hitting 300, I'm getting more of the power where Ellie gives me more of the speed. So it's a nice balance for those first two picks, and they both went a little bit later than you generally see. So I'll take the value all day. And I don't know how many more years I get to take Vladimir Guerrero while he's been wearing a Blue Jays jersey. So I'll take the chance now while I can.
I know. One. All right, let's move on to the rest of the draft here. Sorry, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. It's just keep it real. Wah, wah. I just watched that sketch last weekend, by the way. Still funny, especially the one in Disneyland when she's just miserable about everything and they can't keep a straight face. It's so good. Do you know that was it feline AIDS is the biggest killer in domestic cats? I don't know. It's always funny. Jarren Duran at 206. Paul Skeens. Oh, Team 6 going for the pitching. Look at this. Skeens and Scooble. My God, what a rotation that is. Bryce Harper at 208. So he's off the board. I pivot to Freddie Freeman. So I've got the corners here with Freddie Freeman and Jose Ramirez. Aaron Judge goes next. Zach Wheeler. I'm sorry. The team that has Aaron Judge selects Zach Wheeler at 210. Then Jackson Churio at 211 too. I was debating Churio, hoping he might slide back to me. He did not, unfortunately. Then at the turn, Trey Turner goes at 212. Matt Olson at 301, which brings us back to Scott Bogman, who just took Churio. We'll break him down. And Boggs, what you're going to do next. So let's lay that out for everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be Ketel Marte. I hate second base. I've had issues with it in previous mocks. And Ketel falling to me here in the third round is a gift as far as I'm concerned. So to start Witt, Churio, and Ketel Marte makes me a pretty happy boy. I am excited about this team for sure.
Ketel Marte goes off the board to Bogman at 303. Chris Sale, that puts me on the clock here. Jackson Merrill coming off a really good season. He is incredibly tempting, gives me some stolen bases, gives me average. Do I worry about a sophomore slump? A little bit, but you know what? I think I've seen enough where I'm just going to lock that in. That's also the suggestion from Draft Wizard too. Devers still around, Chisholm still around, tempting, but Chisholm, I feel like, always has an injury issue. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jackson Merrill here. So I've got my corners. I got an outfielder. I like the way this is going. After Merrill goes off the board, Rafael Devers, no surprise, at 305, and Willie Adams at 306. And then Manny Machado at 307, which brings us back to Joe Orrico, who's got Dela Cruz and Vlad Guerrero. A great start to that team. Joe, you pivoting to pitching, or are you going to continue to pound the offense?
No, I'm going to continue with the offense here, and I'm going to take care of another kind of scarce position with third base. Continue the trend here. We've seen Devers and Machado go off the board, and I'm going to take Austin Riley. Really buying into the bounce back for him and for the Braves as a whole. So I couldn't be happier through my first three picks.
And Riley started to bounce back last year, and then obviously the injury. But hopefully it's all just about health for the Atlanta Braves this year, right? You get Acuna back eventually. Albies missed a ton of time last year. Riley seemed all kinds of confused. Everything that could have gone wrong for the Braves, a team that typically everything goes right for, really did. So the Austin Riley bounce back here in the third round certainly seems like a value. Jazz Chisholm goes next to Team 9. Team 10 goes ahead and selects Pete Alonso. Welsh, you went pitcher with Garrett Crochet. I know you're on the board, so I'm going to let you make that pick. Ozzie Albies and Corey Seager go with the turn. So to begin the fourth round, it's Corey Seager. Welsh, Garrett Crochet, what's the next pick here at 402? And let's talk about both.
Oh, man. Well, it's going to be Corey Seager, and I did get they think it's a reach. I do not. I've got Garrett Crochet inside my top 5 SPs. Logan Gilbert's on the board, Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease. So, maybe in this system, I should have taken Seager, and I probably would have got Garrett Crochet back, but I did not think I was getting Garrett Crochet with Orrico right in front of me. So that was a big get. I kind of don't want to do the back-to-back double tap pitchers here, even though there are some really good pitchers. I just think there's some fantastic value. So Corey Seager was like 1,000% the guy that I wanted. So I'm going to pivot, and we're going to keep building on this team. We're going to go with Michael Harris. We're going to take Michael Harris. I got a killer outfield, which can really fall apart. I got all the stolen bases in the world, and I've got a potential league leader in strikeouts with Garrett Crochet, but I'm going to have to build my infield because my infield is devoid right now. I have nobody.
I don't like Michael Harris still. I can't wrap my mind around it. And I'm actually surprised that you would take him here over guys like Wood and Langford, who I think have a higher potential overall ceiling. I love you. I don't like Michael Harris though. I can't wrap my mind around it.
Well, it's fine. He had a great second half, but like I've already got Tatis and Carroll, so I don't really need to play for even more upside when I'm already going to get a higher batting average 2020 guy at a Michael Harris. Maybe I'm leaving something off the board a little bit, but there's strikeout issues or theoretical ones with Woods. We saw a bad first half with Langford. I'm not trying to downplay because I would 100% take those guys in a heartbeat. But for this construction, like Michael Harris as a 2020 potential with really good average makes sense for this team. Did I upset you, Orrico?
Yeah, I'm not impressed right now. I'm not impressed.
Logan Gilbert goes next at 403, then Jose Altuve at 404. There's rumors too. We're still waiting for Bregman to sign that maybe Altuve goes to the outfield. We'll see if that happens. Joe Orrico, let's talk about your selection at 405. What'd you do?
So I went with Cole Reagans. I was hoping that Crochet would get to me, but same thing that happened in our last mock. Welsh takes him right
Suck
before
it, Trebek.
Yeah, he got him in there. So I was trying to play the board a little bit. I'm a huge DeGrom guy. Anybody heard me speak or see me on social media this year knows that I'm a big DeGrom guy. I figured he would fall back. So I took Cole Reagans in the 4th, who I love Cole Reagans. And I was thinking I'd get DeGrom in the 5th, but he went one pick before you, Joe. So I'm totally fine with Cole Reagans as the ace here. I've already built a solid offensive core, and then I get a superstar pitcher in the making. If he's not already there yet, then he's well on his way.
Dylan Cease goes next in what is quite the pitcher run. So Reagans, Cease, Burns, DeGrom. Then I took Blake Snell at 409. Class A goes at 410. Scott Bogman continues the pitching run at 411. Then Wyatt Langford at the 412 turn. 501, William Contreras. Boggs, you're up next. You took Cole. Who'd you take with 502?
I'm getting hosed here because I had Snell and Clase in my queue. My last two guys left, and you took Snell, and then Clase went.
Oh,
man. And then I was like, okay, let's go with Garrett Cole and Wyatt Langford. So I take Cole first because the pitching went, and then Langford went a pick right after me. So I'm just going to go ahead and double tap pitching. I'm going to go with Garrett Cole and George Kirby. Not the sexiest staff, but I got my two aces here.
Well, but certainly I think when you have Cole in the back of your mind, that health is still floating around there for you too, right? Like,
it has to be. That's why I wanted Snell.
Right.
So
me too. That's why I took him.
Yeah,
all right.
Great.
Let's continue to look here. This is a tough one for me. Michael King still on the board. I do love Michael King. Again, there's trade rumors about Cease, trade rumors about King. There's still some pitchers on the board that I feel pretty good about. But you know what? If you're not first, you're last. So I want to go ahead and take a shot here. Draft Wizards tell me the biggest boost here, and I love this, especially when you sync your leagues here. You'll see this during your actual live drafts. It syncs to everything, Fantrax, CBS, you name it, it syncs up there. And you will get all these little tiny bells and whistles that tell you, hey, this player's the biggest boost to your roster right now. And although Teoscar Hernandez is very interesting, I'm going to take James Wood in the upside here. So give me Wood at 504. I realize phrasing. And next at 505, O'Neal Cruz. Then Michael King goes off the board to Team 6 here. What a pitching staff for Team 6. Skubal, Skeens, Corbin Burns, Michael King. Team 6, you better draft some. Is that the Paul Sporer bot, I feel like, potentially? I'm not sure what that is. I miss Paul. We got to get Paul on the show soon. Marcus Semien goes next, who I was also contemplating at 507. 508, Joe Orrico, you're on the clock. What are you doing?
Well, you mentioned his name when you were debating outfielders there. I'm going to go with Teoscar Hernandez. He's going back to a great spot. He's going to be right behind that big three-headed monster in Los Angeles of Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. And I think easily another 30 homers, 100 RBI season incoming. And with 4 outfielders, you don't want to leave it too long. So I need to start taking care of that. He is my first outfielder.
All right. You can also see the top suggestions here on Draft Wizard. It's going to tell you also the pick predictor, who's going to make it back to you, who's not, which is really super helpful in those live drafts. Again, if you want to dominate your leagues, this is how you do it. You use Draft Wizard, download it today. Next up here after Teoscar goes, CJ Abrams goes, Devin Williams goes. I know Welsh loves to take closers. The top suggestion, I think, right now might be Edwin Diaz, but I don't think that's a Welsh style pick. I just don't feel it.
No, I know what I'm going to double tap here. I did want O'Neal Cruz with this pick. So I'm going to go with, there's great pitchers. There's great closers. I'm going to pivot off of both of those. I'm going to go with a massive bat in Brent Rooker, who's going to qualify outfield here again. I'm going berserko with it because I want the power. And I'm going to do this. And this is a very positional thing that I'm making a change here. I'm going to get dinged. No. I'm screwing myself. No, I'm gonna do this. Nope. I'm gonna risk it. I gotta take Christian Walker. Sorry, I gotta take Christian Walker. I need some infield. I have none. First base gets kind of Obviously, him in Houston and that shorter porch is going to be phenomenal. I'm not really doing a great job of doing the batting average thing. This is head to head though. And if you were to punt something, I guess I'm kind of leaning into maybe this is a punt-ish batting average team. I wouldn't want to do this in Roto, but I really wanted to stack up big power, and Rooker and Christian Walker do that for me.
Okay, fair enough. I need to stack some power up too, so I got to think about that with my next pick. Next one here, after Brent Rooker, the turn picks, 2 more pitchers off the board, a closer and a starter. Pablo Lopez, then Josh Hader, 602. Christian Walker, 603. Lawrence Butler, then Edwin Diaz. Joe Orrico, you took a closer to Mason Miller at 605. Would you have taken Diaz if he was still there, or was Mason Miller higher in your rankings?
No, I got Miller, I believe, 1 spot higher. I don't have the relief pitcher rankings up right now, but I'm slightly more confident in Miller after how dominant he was last season. I feel like the A's are going to have probably some more win/save opportunities too this year. I feel like they're going to be a little bit better, so potential for 30 to 35 saves if he stays healthy. And he was kind of just I was playing chicken a little bit there, waiting for the last closer in that top tier, and I got him. I was lucky to get him.
Why are you being a slacker? Why don't you have your ranks up there? What are you doing?
I'm going from memory with these.
All right, no
I
excuses.
just updated him this morning. I updated it this morning, so it's all
okay
on FantasyPros.
is
So
why
we
you
might
use
see
the
a draft
Up
grade.
here.
We might see a draft grade. We might see Joe love his own team. It's a
Well, I hope Joe Orrico
it's a
likes his own
possibility.
team.
I
It's
should
also a
hope so.
possibility he hates it. Mason
Never
Miller goes next, then Royce Lewis, the ultimate lotto ticket that you could rip up about, one day into the season. Yamamoto goes next at 607, then Mark Vientos at 608. I needed some power, so I took Anthony Santander at 609, then Bryce Miller, Josh Naylor to Bogman, Framber Valdez, Aaron Nola at the turn, then Brian Reynolds. Back to you, Boggs. Let's talk about Naylor and Reynolds.
Yeah, I mean, I needed some power. I need a first baseman. It is Welsh kind of started the run, right? First base, there are some first basemen below that, but I was kind of hoping Christian Walker would fall back to me. Hated Welsh's him and a hawing, and eventually taking Christian Walker because that's exactly who I wanted. And then Mason Miller was my backup. So you guys are jerks, don't like you. But I do like Josh Naylor in Arizona. Still a very good lineup. And Brian Reynolds boosts my batting average as well. So, and fills in one of those outfield spots. So kind of easy picks. There is a guy that I'm hoping comes all the way back to me. We'll see.
I just got a thumbs up from Draft Wizard. Thanks, Draft Wizard, with my pick that I got some value there with Shota Imanaga. Between Reynolds and Imanaga, Marcelo Zuna goes at 703. So I got my number 2 starter along with Snell. I like the Cubs this year. The Cubs are all in. They traded for Kyle Tucker. To me, this is a team that is ready to rock and roll. They know that division's up for the taking. Luis Castillo goes next at 705. Then Jordan Westberg at 706. Logan Webb, steady Eddie, 707. Ryan Helsley goes next, then Brenton Doyle at 709. Joe Orrico, let's talk about your Helsley pick. So you've doubled up here on closers with Miller and Helsley.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't get them before the top 100 pick runs out, then you're probably not going to have those lockdown guys. I've got 2 top 5 or top 7 closers now, and I don't have to worry about it. And I also like a lot of the starting pitching values that are coming in the next few rounds, which I probably shouldn't even be saying, but I felt confident not to take another starting pitcher there.
I just made a note about that. Make sure I take another starting pitcher at some point. Brenton Doyle goes at team 9. Tyler Glasnow at 710. Welsh takes Tristan Casas at 711. Then Adley Rutschman at the turn. Raiso Iglesias goes next. So Welsh, I'm waiting for you to do a little bit more pitching. You got Garrett Crochet. He's all alone. He's all alone.
Get there. We're going to get there, but we're not going to do it here. All of my Romo, this is coming to this pick. I was going to take this guy in the next round. I actually just risked it here just based off of the system, thinking I could let this slide. I was going to take him in the last round. I'm 100% pulling the trigger on Junior Caminero for this team. Of course it was going to happen. 30-plus home run potential at a third base position. That stinks. I am shocked that you guys let him come back to me. I didn't think it was going to happen. That's why I hemmed and I hawed, but I want Christian Walker, and I depleted the first base field by taking Casas more power potential that I can put at corner, so I'm not trying to fill it with a third baseman. I do not have a second baseman, I do not have a third baseman, and I have 1 pitcher, so I've got some stuff I got to start doing, but boy, do I love this group of big power and speed combos.
Yeah, I like Caminero a lot there. I think that's the round we were all kind of targeting, and you nabbed him there. Freddie Peralta at 803, then Diaz at 804. Bailey Ober to Joe Orrico at 805. Interesting you took Bailey Ober over Zach Gallen, who has a little bit more track record. Let's talk about that.
It wasn't really between him and Gallen, actually. It's between him and somebody else who I'm not going to say because he's still on the board here, actually.
Okay.
With Ober, it comes down to the whip. I think I can really trust his whip. I really think that that's a category that we forget about a lot of the time, and he's somebody that I'm really banking on somewhere in the 110 to 115 range at worst. Gallen is fine. I worry a little bit the last year and really the last 2 years because he had such a heavy workload the year they went to the World Series, and then last year he wasn't quite the same. He can bounce back for sure, and the price is right for him to bounce back, but Ober was my guy there.
All right, makes sense to me. Let's look ahead here to the next couple picks. Bailey Ober, then Zach Gallen, Christian Yelich, Spencer Strider. I think that's a little early. I took Max Fried. I'm a little worried that first year in the big city there, what that's going to be like for him, but I'm willing to take my lumps. Hopefully he stays healthy there. Hunter Green at 8-10, and then Scott Bogman went Duran at closer. Jurickson Profar now an Atlanta Brave. Love that pickup for the Braves at 8-12. Starting the 9th round, Alex Bregman, still looking for a home as of recording this. Matt Chapman at 9-02. So Chapman and Duran, Boggs, let's break those picks down.
Yeah, I mean, I have to have a closer. Joe kind of mentioned it. If you're not getting involved here, you're probably not going to be involved. So I had to get one. Duran was my favorite one left. And then third base is getting real thin, and third base stinks. I've had an issue with third base in some mocks before. So better take Matt Chapman since Welsh screwed me and took.
Wouldn't Caminero have looked awesome on your team?
You know, I should have just taken him where I took Brian Reynolds. That's exactly what I should have done. And I thought, he's going right around pick 100, not with these Sharks. I should have just taken him.
That's a really good point too. And to like carry on with yours, I probably did need to take Caminero where I was hemming and hawing because he's moving up boards. He's pushing inside the top 50. There's a lot of places that are just not quite caught up. Values aren't fully understanding that, like, if you get him inside the top 75, you're doing a really good job. So I probably I got a benefit here that you could have been like, hey, Welsh, wouldn't have Caminero look good on your team? But I probably needed to push a little bit higher. It was a gift from the fantasy gods, and that happens sometimes.
And if you find yourself in a position like Scott Bogman and you're doing a draft simulation on Draft Wizard, you could always undo a pick, go back, and live things on the right timeline. So you have the best roster you possibly can, and you learn something. See?
As long as you put the stones back where they're supposed to go.
As long as you put the stones back where they go. That's very important. All right, let us unpause the draft and get moving again because I'm on the clock. Felix Bautista went at 9:03. I got to see what I want to do here. Again, I could take a shot here. Randy Arozarena is very tempting. I did see that whole study. I don't know if you guys saw this about how Seattle is the worst place where hitting basically goes to die in the last 20 years. It was a fascinating case study, and I think it sufficiently has scared the crap out of me. So I'm going to take another risk.
Were they talking about the weather with that too? Like,
it was the weather, it was
cold.
the batter's eye, it was the humidity, it was all these weird factors.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely fascinating. I forgot I want to pop the person who did the study, but you can find it over on social media somewhere. So I'm going to take another risk of another kind, and I'm going to take Luis Robert, who is not going to finish the year with the White Sox. So this is an investment in the future.
I love this pick.
Finally playing out a full season, playing himself out of Chicago finally. So right now my roster looks a little something like this: Freeman, Ramirez, then I got Merrill, Wood, Santander, and Robert in the outfield. So I have got a lot of power here. I'd like to pick up maybe a little bit more speed. I'm going to have to work on closer. So far I got Snell, Imanaga, and Max Fried. We'll see how things go here. We're going to get to Welsh's pick and Orrico's pick in a second. Sal Perez, Spencer Schwellenbach. Oh, Welsh, I was definitely one of your guys. I know it. Tanner Bybee at 907. Seiya Suzuki to Joe Orrico. So Suzuki, pretty good value at 908, Joe.
Yeah, the pitcher I was debating between Ober with on the last round was Spencer Schwellenbach, and he went just before. I was going to take him here, but when he went just before me, I went with Seiya. I think Seiya's really undervalued. It's just about staying healthy, and I think he played 138 games last year, so it wasn't like he was banged up the whole season. He's a 5-category guy, and they just added Kyle Tucker in replacement of Cody Bellinger. So I'm liking everything the Cubs are doing, and Seiya's a great value to me.
Tremendous value there for sure. Bo Bichette goes at team 9. Then Andres Munoz goes next. Grayson Rodriguez to the Welsh. Love it. Love that pick. I think he is undervalued this year. Then team 12 takes Arozarena and Riley Green at the turn. Ooh, nice little outfield pairing there. 10:02 back to the Welsh. Our friend of the show, Justin Steele. Justin will be so proud of you. And he is now part of your three-headed monster. Rodriguez, Steele, Crochet. How do you feel about that staff?
Yeah, it's good. was tempted to take Sasaki. I'm not a Sasaki guy. He's sitting out there if you want to play upside. But I'll tell you, like, I think with this team, I just want to stack guys that are going to get innings. I also thought about Sonny Gray in that spot. Justin is a, good innings eater with strikeout potential. Grayson is kind of like my theoretical, like, next step risk if you want to do that. He stacks more innings, big strike. So I got like lots of strikeouts. I'm looking for win potential. I still have no closers, which I'm going to have to tackle, but I really needed to do back-to-back pitching. So by the way, thank you for taking Robert, because I 100,000% would not have been able to help myself if Robert was still there. And for the record, I literally scoffed on camera when Schwellenbach went, because I wanted to go Grayson Schwellenbach. That would have been the greatest coup of all time, but it didn't happen. But yeah, I got 3 starting pitchers now, so I'm feeling a little bit better.
Oh yeah, well, certainly the value's there, and I keep saying it in these like middle rounds between 8 and 11. There's still some guys that can give you front end rotation help there. So especially in the 12-team leagues, 15 it's a little different. What Welsh is doing here, waiting, is very good in the 12-team league. When you get to the 15, it's a little dicey. You might get out of a run or two, and you could end up having a bad time. Cal Raleigh at 10:03, Joe Ryan at 10:04, Joe Orrico, Sonny Gray at 10:05. Let's talk about Sonny Gray in St. Louis again.
Yeah, he had a great season last year. The strikeouts were really up. I think he was around the 30% mark. It was solid. He's just really solid and undervalued, even into his mid-30s. I think he's 35 now. People just don't seem to care that every year he gives you good numbers. And now the strikeouts, and it was backed up by a really good swinging strike rate too. So when you also look at the good defense behind him, like I think that he's another player who just falls too far in drafts.
Okay, after Sonny Gray, Jackson Holiday at 10:06. So that seems like a good spot to take a shot. Like, I feel like that's where the risk is there. Hunter Brown at 10:07, man, rough first month, but after that, the last 5 were glowing for Hunter Brown. Spencer Steer at 10:08, and then I took Matt McLain, give myself a little flexibility, a little second base, a little shortstop. We'll see how things pan out here for me there, but I'm looking for a bounce back for Matt McLain for sure. Did play in the AFL, so looking forward to him just getting reps in spring and getting healthy again, flashing that big-time upside that we saw in his rookie season. Robert Suarez goes next, then Bogman goes closer. We'll talk about that. Neto at 10:12, Paul Goldschmidt at 1:01, and then Roki Sasaki. Let's talk about your last 2 picks, Box.
Yeah, I just think Sasaki fell a little bit too far. I'm not the biggest Sasaki guy, but I think the value here was really good. And again, just need the closers. Urseg, I think, was a really good value here. So I did get the slight reach on him, but in a head-to-head, I think you need to have them. So I went with Urseg there. Still a very good value, and I think Sasaki just fell a little bit too far.
Draft Wizard's going to ding me because I like to wait on closer and then just take shots. So I'm sure the projections are going to say that I'm terrible at, closer, but I'll find closers all year. They show up all the time. After that selection of Sasaki, Ryan Walker goes, and I took Shane McClanahan, 11:04. He would be my 4th starting pitcher here, so I like that upside. Kevin Gossman, Ezekiel Tovar, then Ian Happ, Contreras to Joe Orrico, moving to first base, but you're getting everyday at-bats as a catcher in fantasy.
It's huge. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of NFBC drafts, which granted, those are 2 catcher leagues, but he's going like as a top 70 pick a lot of the time. He's really getting pushed up there. And granted, it's a different strategy with 2 catchers, but I'm probably getting 550 plate appearances from him, maybe 600 if things really break right and he's able to stay healthy. And from the catcher position, you're just not going to really get that unless you're paying up for Rutschman or maybe Cal Raleigh. But getting him in the 120s here, I love that.
Okay, continuing on here after that selection from Joe Orrico. And I love Joe's next pick in the next round too. Stole him right from under me. We're going to fight later. Mike Trout finally goes at 11:09. Anthony Volpe, 11:10. Jake Berger at 11:11. That's Burger, by the way, for those of you who aren't sure. Wink, wink.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. Seth Lugo, that's for you, Dorico. That's for you. Seth Lugo at the turn, Vinny Pasquantino, and then Jack Flaherty. I can't believe Welsh took Jack Flaherty in the draft. This makes me so happy. Now he's with Detroit again. Berger, Flaherty, Welsh. Let's talk about him.
I mean, I was actually kicking myself. I want to be like, can we make a trade? Because I forgot. I took Casas earlier, and that actually, I regret that. That's stupid because getting Burger's going to go into util, but like I could have used that for something else. And I guess it's a glut of riches. So Burger's a no doubt better home environment. I've talked about that 30+ home run potential, RBIs through the wazoo, as long as he doesn't hit 8 for Texas, but I love it. And then Flaherty, again, this is like, go back to Detroit. This is a no brainer. I'm so excited about the jump up for him. There was a guy or two that I really like still on the board as far as pitchers go, but I now just made Flaherty my SP4. and I've got strikeout potential that's just insane right now. I just have these clear holes, but again, in 12-team head-to-head, I feel like you can tackle, like, I have no middle infield and I have no relief pitchers. I can tackle that in a much better way. I've just got a glut of big power and a glut of massive strikeout pitchers, and I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, see, in the head-to-heads especially, I want to have as many starting pitchers as I can. I want to load up on the 2 start weeks and just pound everybody into submission there as much as I can. I'll scratch and claw for saves. I'll figure it out as I go. And like I said, it's going to ding me later on, but this is really cool because those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel, subscribe. You'll obviously see these different strategies that some of us are employing here, which is important because obviously there's lots of different ways to win a league. After Jack Flaherty, Adolis Garcia, Stephen Kwan, Luis Garcia, who we were just talking about what incredible value he is. He's basically Altuve, but like 100 picks later. And Joe Orrico, you got him.
Yeah, we just talked about him on that show we did very recently, talking about the different value picks. And I'm not 100% sold that he is going to be like taking a next step forward. But even if we just get a repeat, if we get 18 homers, 20 steals, and he hits 275 or something like that, I'll absolutely take it. The lineup around him is getting a lot better. And like I mentioned on that show we did before, which you guys should check out if you haven't seen it already, the second base position really, really dries up. And there are a couple of guys I don't mind later on, Colt Keith, Brandon Lau, whatever, but locking in a guy who's secured everyday playing time in a pretty solid lineup is something I'd like to do here.
Okay. I agree. I love this pick here, man. It's top notch. It's a great value. And I don't think he's going to be there this late in a couple weeks from now. Cody Bellinger at 1206. Good value there for Team 7 at 1206 there if he bounces back in that little ballpark. Xander Bogaerts at 1207, Will Smith at 1208. Then I continue to take more pitching. Carlos Rodon, I almost took him before when I was looking at McClanahan, and even before that, Fried. He was still kind of floating around there. He's just going way too long, and I don't love him, but the Yankees are going to get wins, guys. Like, they're a pretty good roster. They got a good closer now. I mean, what are we doing here? Take Yankees, take Dodgers, invest in good offenses and good teams, and your pitching will be happy about it. Brandon Nimmo at 1210. Dylan Cruz, Scott Bogman taking his shots here finally. Kirby Yates at 1212. Looks to be the new closer with the Dodgers. Jason Dominguez at 1301, and Bryce Terang on the way back. Cruz, Terang, Bogman, the floor is yours.
I mean, Terang just fell and fell and fell, and that's a bunch of stolen bases. I feel like I haven't dominated now with Witt and Terang in there, and Dylan Cruz is my shot, like you said. I feel like my team is pretty safe at this point, so let's take a shot on some upside, and let's go with Dylan Cruz here in one of those 4 outfield spots. So I really like this, the way this is shaping up so far.
What's not to like? Nico Horner goes next at 1303, then 1304. Brian Wu to me. Xavier Edwards, Tanner Scott, Louis Heel, Jared Jones, Jeff Hoffman, Ben Joyce. Let's go back to your pick here. Jared Jones at 1308. What a start for Jones last year, Joe Orrico. And then, some struggle with some health and some struggle with performance, but could be a huge 2025 for him.
Yeah, the reason why he's available even in this range in the 13th round is because of how rough things were down the stretch. This is kind of just getting him close to a max pick range. You're not usually seeing him go quite this late. Hoping for the bounce back. Pittsburgh's done some really good things developmentally with their pitching over the last couple of years. A lot of talent has come into the organization as well, but I trust that they'll get him right. As long as he stays healthy, this should be a pretty good value here as my 5th starting pitcher.
Should certainly be, that's for sure. After that selection here of your 5th starting pitcher, Jeff Hoffman, Ben Joyce, Welsh, you took Sandy Alcantara, then Pete Crow Armstrong goes at the turn. Starting round 14, Logan O'Hoppe, and then back to you for Alexis Diaz. So Alcantara and Diaz, Welsh. Let's discuss these 2 picks and how you feel about them.
Yeah, Alcantara started throwing at the end of last season, which is perfect for this offseason for him to be able to start ramping back up. Velo looks like it's getting back up. You're healthy. You're off that injury. Plus, you're going to get traded. You're going to get traded in season. So for me, in a head-to-head format, where there's a likely scenario where he's, throw it out here. He's a Dodger. Clearly would be the one we'd pick. A Red Sox, a Yankee, whatever it is, it's going to be one of those type of things where he's going to end up getting traded. So I love that. Plus innings. This is what he does. He eats up innings, regardless of where some projections are at. And then I needed a closer, Alexis Diaz. I think the Reds are going to be massively more competitive. They did bring in quite a few new arms. So, if Alexis Diaz is a struggle, that there could be some competition, but I think he's in a prime spot here, and I'm getting him at a huge value in like the 160-ish range.
After Diaz, Kodai Senga, then Jonathan India, Nick Castellanos to Joe Orrico. Joe, another bat here for you at 1405.
Yeah, I haven't really invested a lot in outfielders. I'm not a huge Castellanos guy, but 14th round, He's still in a very good lineup. He should still be able to produce for me, even if he's not what he used to be. I don't think I'm getting 35 home runs, but 20 homers, maybe if we're lucky, we can get 100 RBI out of him. So no problem with it, but he's not like a huge target of mine either, just because he fell, really.
I just got sniped, so I'm a little upset. I'm going to have a little moment to myself. Colton Cowser, Eugenio Suarez, then JT Realmuto at 1408. I took Pete Fairbanks at 1409, so I got one closer at least, got some saves. Shane Baz at 1410. Trevor McGill, who looks to be the new man for saves again, was good in that role last year when Williams was hurt. Lane Thomas, Yandy Diaz, and then Reynaldo Lopez. Back to you. So Lopez, Boggs, look, McGill certainly looks like a guy who's ready for that role. He performed well in that role last year. Reynaldo Lopez, a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. Do you believe that he can do that again in 2025?
Yeah, I think, obviously a huge year, very good team context as well. And I needed another pitcher, and I don't have a lot of, with Sasaki and Cole, it's a little questionable in terms of health. So to get a guy like Lopez, I think is a pretty good value here.
Okay, after Reynaldo Lopez, Mason Wynn goes. I wanted him. I took Jeremy Pena instead. I needed some help there in the middle infield. Luke Weaver, Alec Boehm, Luis Ariz, Christopher Sanchez, to Joe Orrico. Sanchez, let's talk about him, Joe.
Yeah, I love Sanchez, and there was a report the other day that he's going to be adding a new pitch. I think it was, I don't even know if it was actually reported what it was, but people were speculating if it's going to be a cutter or something. He was already good enough. Like what he did last year was great. Stuff models, depending on the model you look at, tend to really like him. Good lineup behind him, lots of win potential. As a 6th starting pitcher, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Okay. Joe Orrico, very happy right now with his 6th starting pitcher. Langoliers, then Brandon Pfaadt to Team 10 right before Welsh, who took Jordan Romano right out of my queue and onto his team. Francisco Alvarez, a catcher, to end the 15th round. To start the 16th, Nolan Arenado, then Andres Jimenez. Jake Cronenworth to Team 10. So Jimenez and Romano to you, Welsh. How do you feel about those picks?
Romano, I've got higher than a lot of other people. I think some people might feel there's more of a question in the closing role for Philadelphia. I think Romano is set up to be that guy. Maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I didn't pay like a super high price. If you're the Phillies closer, Romano with that history, I think I'm going to like exceed great value here. And that was my 2nd closer. Jimenez is interesting. I was using FantasyPros. One of the things in the live draft room you can do outside of just suggestions is you can see projections and you can see categories on where you're tracking in categories. And one ironic thing that's happened with all that power that I've been going after, guys, is even though I started off so hot with stolen bases, I've ticked down and it was telling me, you are falling behind. So I decided to go with Andres Jimenez, maybe a bounce back with Toronto. Power's not really big in that department. More stolen bases, hopefully. Batting average kind of ticked back up. It actually helped me a little bit, and it ticked me back up into the top half of stolen bases. So just kind of watching my categories here. Jimenez fit into the team pretty well.
You got to watch your categories too before you know it's going to be bathing suit season. Jake Cronenworth, then Austin Wells at 1604, Josh Lowe at 1605 to Joe Orrico. Let's talk about your selection of Lowe here in the outfield. You've just got Castellanos and now Lowe you've added to that outfield, Joe.
Yeah, I think I've taken Lowe in possibly every mock we've done on camera this year so far. I just love the value, new ballpark. He was hurt last year, banged up. He pretty much hurt everything he possibly could hurt last year. It was like 4 separate injuries to 4 separate body parts. But you get the bounce back with the lower price, close to pick 200. Could be a 20 home run, 35 steal guy pretty easily if he stays healthy. And I think there's a good chance that he will.
Next up here after that selection for Joe Orrico, we have Tyler Stevenson, Robbie Ray, Dansby Swanson at 1608. I took Lourdes Gurriel at 1609. Tyler O'Neill at 1610. Bogman selects Kikuchi at 1611. Then Kerry Carpenter, Zach Eflin at the turn. 1702, Isaac Paredes. I was hoping he might make it to me. He did not. Reese Hoskins goes at 1703. Let's back up here. Kikuchi and Paredes. How do you feel about these two selections, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, Kikuchi is fine. Just a value pick here. I need another starter. Lots of strikeouts. Don't love the team context in LA, but I thought he fell a little bit too far. And Paredes, I'm excited, man. Hitting with that short porch, a pull hitter into the Crawford boxes in Houston. And right now, unless they do sign Bregman, which would drop him in the order, obviously. But if he stays at 2, there's not too many better spots to be hitting between Altuve and Jordan Alvarez in the big. So really like that spot for Paredes.
Okay, let's continue on here with the picks. After that selection here by Scott Bogman, we have Reese Hoskins, and I took Sean Manaea at 1704. Bryson Stott at 1705. I think Manaea lasted a little too long. I get it. Like, is he a 1-year wonder? I don't think so. I think the Mets have figured something out here with these pitchers and what they're doing, and they look like they're going to try to do it again this year with the Montoses and Clay Holmes too. I think Clay Holmes is going to be almost like a Derek Lowe, but with a little bit better strikeout rate potentially because he keeps the ball down so much. That could be a really interesting play there. Bryson Stott, Ryan Mountcastle at 1706, Brandon Lau at 1707. Let me pause the draft here as I'm going through here so I don't get auto-picked. Then Michael Talia to Joe Orrico. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, good price for somebody
Good
that
price.
we've talked about a lot. We talked about him on that show, that aforementioned sleeper show. Good power potential. You're going to get a little bit of speed. I mean, if you're looking at just raw barrel rates and hard hit percentages, he's right up there among the very best in baseball. Playing in Colorado on top of that. If Talia hit like 45 home runs this year, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think many people would be that surprised by it. So getting him there as a corner bat, maybe there's times you start him at home and maybe if he's really cold, you sit him on the road or something like that. But at this point in the draft, like round 17, round 18, I don't think you can really go wrong with that pick. He's usually going quite a bit earlier.
Next, after Joe's selection, we're going to get to another Welsh pick in a second. Rengifo, then Gleyber Torres, Eovaldi to Welsh at 1711. Then Finnegan and Bowden Francis go with the turn 1802 Tommy Edman. So Edman and Eovaldi back-to-back for you, Welsh.
Tommy Edman is like one of my favorite sneakier later picks outside the top 200. I talked about him on a show with Frank Stamfler in the year as far as a sleeper. He's going to be playing in the outfield. A bounce back with the stolen base potential and just the run potential, by the way, with the Dodgers. And I, qualifying at shortstop here, I had a position open, so I was able to throw him in. Eovaldi is kind of, again, just an innings win type of play that I'm looking to do. I'm looking to stack. I've got so many strikeouts that are already on the board that I'm just looking to stack some wins and some innings on some of these SPs. And I'm in this interesting space too, where in a head-to-head, I could have maybe possibly punted saves. I'm not doing that with some later closers, and the really only hyper focus is batting average. So I'm keeping that in my mind where I might want to stack a little bit more on the saves front, big strikeouts, big wins, big innings as pitching, so I can kind of keep pace. I need to probably take down comfortably. I mean, the easy answer is 6. I need to have 6 comfortable categories where I'm a monster in. Right now, it's looking like I've got 4 or 5 hitting categories, so I got to make that up on pitching.
Presley, then Bednar. Joe Orrico takes Ryan Pepio. What's his upside this year, Joe?
I mean, the ballpark worries me a little bit because, the positives that come with the Tampa players, the position players going to the new park, it is a bit of a negative for the pitchers, a bit more hitter friendly. But Pepio, I think the skill set is really there. And especially like I mentioned earlier with the whip, I'm looking for people specifically who, not just the projections, but like my own head think 1.2 whip and lower type of range for a lot of these guys. And according to the projections right now, my whip is projected at 1.17. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. And I leaned into it there.
Colt Keith goes next at 1806 on Helio Ramos. Christian Campbell right before me. I was really hoping to get him there. I did not, so I settled for another starting pitcher, Taj Bradley. Rafaela goes at 1810, then 1811. Scott Bogman selects Taylor Ward. Clark Schmidt, Spencer Arrighetti at the turn, 18 and 1901. And then Alec Burleson, I was also hoping got to me. He did not. Scott Bogman, you've sniped me twice now in these corners. I'm really irritated at you. I just want to put that out there.
Love that.
Yeah.
I just I needed a boost in a bunch of categories in hitting. As Welsh said, you have to kind of follow along in your categories and everything. I was low in RBI and runs, still kind of low in homers. They have me at 8 here, but it was a nice boost getting both of those guys with back-to-back picks. And I still have, I believe, one more hitting spot to fill out outside of catcher, which I always just wait till the end.
There you go. You and I will be fighting there as well, as we both always wait to the end there on catcher. Next up here, after Burleson, we have Parker Meadows. Then I took Nathaniel Lowe for my corner spot. Brandon Woodruff, fine dart throw at 1905, especially if he's healthy. That could be a league winner. Sean Murphy at 1906. Shane Bieber at 1907. Joe Orrico, you took Estevez. We'll get back to your pick in a second because I know you're almost on the clock. Tanner Houck, Jake McCarthy, and then I'll get prospect boy. The Welsh takes Matt Shaw. Yu Darvish goes at the turn to start the 20th round, Jose Barrios, and then Kenley Jansen for the Welsh. So Shaw and Jansen, Welsh, let's talk about those picks.
Well, Shaw is a massive value for me. Probably not going to do me any favor in the projection market, but, like when you get outside the top 15 of shortstop, even third base, you're looking in that general vicinity, and you look at the potential upside for a guy like Shaw, who was 20 homers in the minors, 30 stolen bases in the minors as well. He played in the Premier 12 league after, was like the number one hitter in the Premier 12 USA tournament. He has been an absolute freak, and he's got a position locked in for himself. Good batting average, good power speed combo. There's just so much upside. Frankly, if he were, I'm a little surprised, I guess, when I think about like where Dylan Cruz and Jason Dominguez go to where Matt Shaw is. I'd point out Matt Shaw is near the tippy top of NL Rookie of the Year after Roki Sasaki. He's the number 2 guy. He has the same odds as Dylan Cruz, and he went about 70 picks lower. So that was a no-brainer. Kinley was just a speculative. The closing market, there's some guys. Jason Foley was out there. Probably would have been a little bit smarter. Justin Martinez, if you want to go with the Diamondbacks and you're speculating. I went with Kenley Jansen, assuming that he's going to probably jump into a spot that's going to have a closer role, as there's some of those that are out there, but I'm not in love with the Kenley Jansen one.
Okay. After Jansen, you've got Mullins and Cutter Crawford. Joe, you selected Geloff, so Geloff and Estevez for you. What do you think of the Estevez signing here for the Royals?
So I tweeted it within minutes of this happening that Urseg will still get the majority of the saves. He's still going to be the lead person you want to be rostering in fantasy in terms of the Royals bullpen. But the money that Estevez got, he's going to get the job out of spring training. Unless something catastrophic happens in the month of March, Estevez is going to start. If there's a save opportunity on opening day, it's probably going to Estevez. With that kind of money, there's also salary arbitration impacts of Urseg not getting too many saves. But I do think that the skill set is much higher for Urseg, and he will end the year with more saves. But I think considering it's a head-to-head, he's my third closer. This is pick 235 or something I took him. Even if I just get 10 or 12 saves in the first month of the season or the first 6 weeks of the season, I can drop him after that, and he still might have helped me win a couple weeks in the early going. So Don't mind him here at this price at all.
No, I was looking at him as well. So certainly a good thought process. See, everybody, there's lots of ways to find potential saves. Next up here, after that selection for you, after Geloff, you have Nick Pivetta at 2007, Brendan Donovan, Mackenzie Gore at 2008. Then I took Tyler Fitzgerald at 2009, Gabriel Moreno at 2012, Jock Peterson to Bogman at 11, and then Ronel Blanco, Jason Foley make the turn. Nick Lodolo, Boggs, another guy out of my queue. So Peterson and Lodolo, your last 2 picks. Let's break them down.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Lodolo fan because of his injury history, but I mean, the upside is incredible. When he's out there, he pitches very, very well. And we're getting late in the draft here, so I thought he was a pretty good selection here. And Jock, he is a platoon guy, but he's the heavy side of the platoon in the middle of a very, very good lineup. I know Roster Resource has him projected to hit third when they're playing against righties in that lineup. I think Troy Lovello did a great job of protecting him against lefties, and I think they're going to end up doing that in Texas as well. So I just think this is a really good value to get both those guys.
It certainly feels like it for sure. On that draft board, after those selections for Boggs, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and then I hate myself because I took Carlos Correa. Whatever, it'll be fine for 70 games. Jesus Luzardo, Victor Robles, Justin Martinez, George Springer, Gavin Williams, then Andrew Vaughn at 2110, Chris Welsh, you took Josh Young at 2111, then Max Muncy, Ranger Suarez goes at the turn of Walker Buehler, Welsh. Nice selection there. Let's talk about Walker Buehler, your expectations now for him. He did have some moments in those playoffs that looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean I'm going all on the bounce back, all on the playoff bounce back, where it looked like he was getting back to his stuff. I love him in Boston. I've now got Buehler and Garrett Crochet strikeout potential. Again, we're in the 250s, 250 plus range. So this is like a great bounce back opportunity for a guy that's got top 150 overall upside. And then my other pick, Josh Young. I'm not even the biggest Josh Young guy on the planet, but like we're outside the top 250. I have a util spot open here. I got way too many like corner third base type of guys. But like if Josh Young returns to that 2023 side, he was a double-digit barrel, really in the big hard hit range, 20-plus homers. He had a really down year last year with the injury. There is a legit possibility. Like I'm just getting, 20, maybe some sneaky stolen bases. He hits 260 and investing in that Rangers offense post 250, like absolute no-brainer.
Okay. No-brainer for Welsh there with his last selection. We'll get to Joe's here in a second. We had Michael Garcia go, then Rasmussen. Joe, you had taken Springer, then Lars Nootbaar. You're up for another pick, so I'll let you pick there. Jeffrey Springs, Bo Naylor, then Jackson Jobe at 2208. I took Ryan Jeffers, got my catcher here, Ryan McMahon, Connor Norby to Bogman, Kim goes to team 1 here at the turn at 23-01. Mitch Keller, Michael Wacha backs to Bogman here. Norby and Wacha, how do you feel about these last 2 selections?
I love getting Norby here as a bench player, covers second and third in case I have injuries. We know that second and third are kind of dicey this season, so I really, really like that pick. And Michael Wacha is just a value at this point. He kept falling and falling and falling, and I just thought he fell a little bit too far, and you just grab him and stash him in my pitching staff. So like both those picks.
Okay, after that selection, we had, let's see here, Michael Wacha, Chris Martin, then I took Kumar Rocker, the future closer of the Texas Rangers. That's right, I said it. Jordan Walker at 23-05, Michael Kopech, Liam Hendricks, Merrill Kelly, Luis Severino. Joe, every time I come to you, you're on the board here. Let's talk about the last couple picks that you've made here and the last selection you just made. So Springer, Nootbaar, Kelly, and DJ Hertz. Great selection there. Love that one.
Yeah, so lots of picks to go through. With Springer and Nootbaar, it's the value in it. I mean, we're talking past pick 250, so it doesn't really matter at that point if you have to drop a guy. You're taking some shots. Springer should still be the leadoff hitter in Toronto because they're fairly stubborn, leaving him in that spot. And if you're hitting ahead of Bobichette, Vladdy, Santander, hopefully Pete Alonso, I'll take that all day in round 21. Lars Nootbaar in round 22, again, it's just a guy who I think is going a little bit too late, potentially leading off there in St. Louis. Really like the on-base skills. And then Merrill Kelly, a guy I'm hoping for a bit of a bounce back in terms of the volume. Hopefully he can get to like 150 innings like the projections are calling for. And then DJ Hertz, our friend DJ Hertz, who I think is really good. I had a bit of a disagreement with Nick Pollock the other day on PitchCon talking about DJ Hertz. He's not quite as in. I think that he's really good. I think the swinging strikes are good. The strikeout rate is going to be fantastic. And I like what Washington does as a whole in terms of pitching development as well. So no problem with DJ Hertz there.
All right, I'm going to go take another shot at the closer here while we continue to get caught up on the rest of the picks. Story, Friedel, Festa, excellent selection there. Willie Castro goes to me because, well, if I already got Carlos Correa, I'm going to need somebody else to play at some point in the middle infield spots or somewhere around. Christopher Morel, Jesus Sanchez to Bogman, Brian Hayes, and then Estrada back to Boggs again, Tobias Myers. So Myers and Sanchez. Boggs, your thoughts?
I think Sanchez had a pretty underrated year last season. Had added some stolen bases as well. Miami needs to produce some runs. I think he's going to do it again. Decent pop as well. Doesn't crush you in the batting average. So I thought that was a good value. And then Toby Myers, I think, is just another great value pick. Another strikeout guy here playing for a good team in Milwaukee. So, yeah, I like these picks again.
After DJ Hertz, we have going forward Trevor Story, then TJ Friedel, David Festa at 24-08, then Willie Castro to me, Christopher Morel, then Jesus Sanchez, Brian Hayes, Terrio Estrada, back to Bogman after Sanchez, and then you select Toby Myers there. Tobias Myers and Sanchez. Sanchez underrated 2024, Boggs. Do you think he can repeat it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Miami needs to produce some runs. He stole some bases last season out of nowhere. So, yeah, I thought for a bench bat, that's a pretty good selection.
Nestor Cortez goes next, and Aroldis Chapman. We'll see if he's in that closer mix. I'm just taking some shots here. Camilo Vodal, then Hodge, Fedde, Max Scherzer to Joe Orrico. Again, letting those that Blue Jay flag fly real high. Honestly, at this point in Scherzer's career, what's your expectation? How many starts does he make? I'm going to give you the number 17, over under.
That's a pretty good number. I'm say right in that ballpark. I'll take a slight over and say he gets to like 20 starts and 115, 120 innings. I think a lot of people just think he's just old and bad at this point, but the numbers were still pretty solid last year, considering he was coming from such a high peak. Yeah, he's lost some of that magic, but if he finished the year with the best numbers on the Blue Jays pitching staff, it wouldn't really surprise me. It really wouldn't. So I don't mind taking him here as like my 12th starting pitcher and taking a chance. If he's terrible, if he gets hurt, I can easily drop him.
Okay, after Scherzer, Connor Wong, then Ryan Weathers, Ha-Seong Kim to Welsh, Cody Bradford, then Spencer Horwitz, Garrett Mitchell. So you have Garrett Crochet and Garrett Mitchell collecting all the Garretts. We are Welsh.
Garrett's. I've tried to collect the Corbins earlier, just trying to get the namesake if I possibly can. Ha-Seong Kim's, I think, a really solid bet value, even if he misses a tiny bit of time. I kind of was depletey a little bit at shortstop, but if he bounces back, big power speed combo was out there. And Garrett Mitchell, kind of same thing. If you can hit closer to the top of the lineup, you can steal some bases, hit for average, something I needed to play up for. So it just bench pieces looking for some upside right now as we are, I believe we're in our last picks.
We are in our final selections here, so very exciting times, obviously, here on the show. Don't forget, make sure you're doing all of your drafts over there with Draft Wizard as well. Then we're going to give you the full breakdown here in just a moment. So after that selection of Mitchell, we're going to go through here. We have Jason Adam, Grant Holmes, there you go, Roman Anthony, Joe Orrico, Sneaky Snake there, Bubba Chandler, Brian Bayo, Ryan Nelson. I took Byron Buxton because, well, I already have Carlos Correa, so why not just tank my entire team? Kyle Harrison, Kybert Ruiz, Jameson Taillon, then Griffin Jacks, Jung-Hoo Lee, AJ Puck right underneath from me there. I took JJ Bleday, who had some moments last year. I'm fascinated to see when he gets out of that ballpark, what he might be able to do now in 2025 that they're playing in Sacramento. Evan Carter, Manuel Rodriguez, Pavin Smith, Tyler Soderstrom, Cade Povich, Nolan Jones. Welsh is going to make a pick here, and then we are going to finish up. Welsh, what's your last pick?
Go Wilyer Abreu. We'll go a little bit of Wilyer Abreu on a bounce up here. Ooh, grade.
Ooh, the grades came in, boys. And somebody got an A+ brought an apple for the teacher. They
I wonder who it is
Draft
by the
Wizard
tone of
really
your voice.
likes me. Despite Correa and Byron Buxton on the same team late. But again, whatever. They're bench guys at this point. So Joey P won the draft. Look at me. I mean, I feel like I never win the baseball draft. Sometimes the football drafts I win, but never the baseball. Team 1, number 2, Joe Orrico. We appreciate you coming here, but you finished third. Scott Bogman at 5. Very nice here. Chris Welsh came in at 8. So once again, I'm utilizing the tools here. I like the roster I ended up with. I'm looking right now. The what if for me was if I drafted Ellie De La Cruz, I could have drafted third base later. But you know what? I want Jose Ramirez. I don't think he gets enough credit. If this guy played in New York or Boston or Chicago, we hear a lot more about how great Jose Ramirez is every single year. I got some steals there late. It said I reached on Kumar Rocker. We'll see. Hot take, Andy Behrens, my buddy, likes my draft more than anybody else, which I appreciate you, Andy. I'll send you a nice edible arrangement. Dalton Del Don and Scott White also like mine. However, Joe Pisapia gave me a thumbs down, as did the Welsh.
Oh, you hated your own draft.
As did Scott Bogman. Bogman, Welsh, and me, the entire cast of Out of Bounds on Fantasy Pros, the NFL side, hates my draft. I know why. It's because I took Correa and Buxton, and that's going to bother me. But let's see if you guys agree if this is an A+ team. I'm sure that you don't from the draft grade that you've given me. I'm guessing the answer is nay. So listen to the roster, and then you give me the grade. Jeffers at catcher, Freeman, McLean, Pena, Jose Ramirez, Nathaniel Lowe. Then we have Carlos Correa, Jackson Merrill, James Wood, Anthony Santander, Luis Robert, Gurriel, Fitzgerald. The rotation, Snell, Imanaga, Freed, McClanahan, Rodon, Fairbanks, Minaya, Bradley, and then we got Buxton, Bleday, Castro, Kumar Rocker, and Chapman on the bench. Welch, give me your honest grade.
I actually like this more than maybe you would think. The pieces that I don't like what you did at closer, because I think you only got like
nothing.
One.
I didn't do anything.
And then like Chapman is like speculative. So I don't love that, but you can do that if you're going to do that in this format. Mm-hmm. I don't love like Rodon and Freed as like specific picks, but like I think you've got just a ton of depth there. I freaking love your outfield. Merrill, Wood, Santander. I like Robert on the bounce back. I mean, I think you've got some potential blowups.
Give me a grade. Is it a B+? What do you got? Come on.
I would probably give this like a B+.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's in that general area. I don't hate it like the draft grade.
It says you hated it. What do you want to give it?
Yeah, I'd give it an FU. No, I'm kidding. Like Welsh said, there are pieces to like in this team. I really, really like the outfield. I think you did a great job there. But I'm with Welsh. I'm not the biggest fan of not getting closers in a head-to-head league. I think it's important. I think you need to get it. And McLean is just risky. Correa is risky. It's why you didn't like your own team. And some of these pitchers, Freed, I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm not the biggest fan of Rodon either. So, yeah, I think B- somewhere in that neighborhood.
I live to serve Draft Wizard. That's it. Not myself, not my own rankings. Joe Orrico, Contreras, Vlad, Luis Garcia, Ellie De La Cruz, Austin Riley, Tolia. We have Geloff, Hernandez, Suzuki, Castellanos, Josh Lowe. We have Springer, Nootbaar, Reagans, Miller, Helsley, Sonny Gray, Bailey Ober, Jared Jones, Sanchez, Pepio, Estevez, Merrill Kelly, Roman Anthony, Soderstrom, Hertz, and Scherzer. So I took a very heavy outfield starting pitcher approach. Joe's, yours was a little different. What do you think of this roster? Are you happy with it?
I am. Yeah, I am very happy with it. There's nothing really, I mean, again, like the last mock draft, I probably should have reached another round earlier on Garrett Crochet so that I didn't let Welsh get him. But for the next one we do, I will make sure that I have Garrett Crochet no matter what happens. If I have to take him in the first round, I'll do it. But I'm getting Garrett Crochet in the next mock draft.
That's right.
But I like it, though. I have two lockdown closers, Miller and Helsley, with a potential for a third in Estevez. Pretty good starting pitching depth. I don't have any real I mean, Merrill Kelly might be a little bit of a question. Probably didn't need to take him there. But got a couple Diamondback fans on the show, so I don't have any problem taking Merrill Kelly there. And everything else, I like it. I think the infield's strong. I got a good base of batting average, power, speed. I mean, I like it, and the grade agrees. 92 out of 100. I'll take that.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if you looked here, but on Joe's insights, Brad Kamara liked the draft the most. I am in there with the third most. You've got a couple of Yahoo guys, Dalton Del Don and Scott Pianowski. But the number one hater of this team, hates this team the most, Joe Pisapia. Pisapia hates this team the most.
True. I do, because it's not mine. And that's why, All right, let's go. Scott Bogman, Ruiz, Naylor, Marte, Bobby Witt Jr. Love this offense here. Chapman, Paredes, Terang went way too late. Churio's a great pick. Reynolds a great pick. Cruz, big upside. Ward, Burleson, Lee, then Kirby, Garrett Cole, nice top of the rotation. Duran, Sasaki, we'll see what he brings to the major leagues. Lopez, Kikuchi, Urseg, McGill, Lodolo, Peterson, Norby, Waka, Sanchez, and Myers. Boggs, how do you feel about this one?
It's okay. I think my pitching staff is kind of like building in Galveston right before a hurricane. So I'm not the biggest fan of my pitching, probably a little bit too injury prone. Really like the offense, though. Even though the Wizards said I wasn't huge on the power, I think I got enough from my positions here. So the offense is good. Pitching staff is just built on shaky ground, which I don't really like. So closers are good. Starters are a little bit questionable. I think that's a big question mark on this team.
Welsh, Herrera, that's my catcher you took from me. Walker, Jimenez, Edmund, Caminero, love that. Casas, Matt Shaw. It's a nice dynasty team you drafted here, Welsh. Corbin Carroll, Fernando Tatis, Michael Harris, Brent Rooker, Jake Berger, Josh Young, Crochet, Rodriguez, Steele, Flaherty, Alcantara, Eovaldi, then Diaz, Romano, Jansen, Garrett Mitchell, Walker Buehler, Abreu, Kim, and Olsen. Welsh, your thoughts?
I don't know what we're talking about here. This offense is ridiculous. You guys are going to have to break down my team, because I look at this and I'm like, what do you mean I'm the sixth in hitting? I am through the board, like batting average, sure, but I've got Casas, I've got Caminero, I've got Christian Walker, Tatis, Carroll, Michael Harris, Brent Rooker. What are you talking about with this offense?
I think this team is
It's
tough
not grading
to project.
youth.
Well, I mean, but I'm saying you've got Casas, you've got Caminero, you've got a lot of guys that don't have complete seasons. So I think Draft Wizard is saying, well, it looks good theoretically, but on paper, we're not ready to, the math wasn't mathing for it yet. I think that's what's happening.
It's wrong, because it's amazing. Dalton Del Don agrees. Number one lover. I love mine, of course. I'm saying it here. Scott White, third most in the love department. Pianowski is in there. Pierre Camus always hates me in any sport. Yes. It doesn't matter.
Well, his
always
name is
the
Pierre,
hater.
So take it with a grain of salt.
Joe, you were the number two hater. Kelly Kirby, Ariel Cohen also hate the team. But I like it. I mean, there's some holes, like middle infield maybe has some question marks. I didn't invest highly in closers, but I love the pitching staff. I think my hitting is ridiculous. My favorite hitting I've put together so far, especially in a head-to-head. So I'll take the bad grade. I think it's okay. I think this team kind of rocks.
All right, YouTube, you have an assignment. Which roster do you like the most? Is it Orrico? Is it Bogman? Is it Welsh? Or is it me, Joey P? Drop your comments below. Which roster do you like the most and why? And which roster do you think is the worst? Why not? I know YouTube commenters don't like to be negative, so I know this is out of your comfort zone. But if you want to be negative and say which team you didn't like, I'll allow that too. In the meantime, just try. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to the channel Fantasy Pros MLB, ring the bell to let go sting for notifications, and run some drafts on your own. Download Draft Wizard today. Use the mock draft simulator right now. Play around with the cheat sheets. Play around with all the tools, the pick predictor. That way you can start to tune up and get ready for all of your upcoming drafts and sync your leagues, more importantly, so you can use the software while you're drafting in real time those real teams. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Joe and Scott and Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy drafting.